Hello, my name is John, and today we'll be reading Critique of the Cain Type View of Life, quotes by Reverend and Alexander Solzhenitsyn. This speech was given in Portland, Oregon, March 2012, by myself. You must liquidate the chains connecting you to the past and to your old ways. First, you have to cleanse yourself ideologically. What kind of thoughts dwell in your brain? How purified is your thinking? There are many isms in the world today, like a department store full of things for sale. There is individualism, socialism, communism, and Godism. Which ism do you have in your brain? The greatest confrontation in the world today is not the United States versus the Soviet Union, capitalism versus socialism, or even democracy versus communism. It is faith in God versus the denial of God. The communist world based on atheism has failed to fulfill the human dream. The free world, on the other hand, has become materialistic and forgotten God, and is helpless in the face of the grave world crisis. The world is dark with confusion. A new vision must emerge, a new worldview centered on God. I am teaching that worldview, based on God's heart of love. I call it Godism. I proclaim that this ideal will provide a new solution to the world. Reverend Sun Myung Moon. And from Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Atheist teachers in the West are bringing up a younger generation in a spirit of hatred of their own society. This tilt of freedom toward evil has come about gradually, but it evidently stems from a humanist and benevolent concept to which man, the master of this world, does not bear any evil within himself, and all the defects of life are caused by misguided social systems, which must therefore be corrected. Gradually it was disclosed to me that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart, and through all human hearts. This line shifts inside us. It oscillates with the years, and even within hearts overwhelmed by evil, one small bridgehead of good is retained, and even in the best of all hearts there remains an uprooted small corner of evil. If only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being, and who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It would have seemed quite impossible in America that an individual be granted boundless freedom with no purpose, simply for the satisfaction of his whims. Subsequently, however, all such limitations were eroded everywhere in the West. A total emancipation occurred from the moral heritage of Christian centuries, with their great reserves of mercy and sacrifice. If the world has not come to its end, it has approached a major turn in history equal in importance to the turn from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. It will exact from us a spiritual upsurge. We shall have to rise to new height of vision, to a new level of life where our physical nature will not be cursed as in the Middle Ages, but even more importantly, our spiritual being will not be trampled upon as it is in the modern era. On the way from the Renaissance to our days, we have enriched our experience, but we have lost the concept of a supreme, complete entity which used to restrain our passions and our irresponsibility. But the fight for our planet, physical and spiritual, a fight of cosmic proportions, is not a vague matter of the future. It has already started. The forces of evil have begun their decisive offensive. After the Western ideal of unlimited freedom, here is a true Christian definition of freedom. Freedom is self-restriction, restriction of the self for the sake of others. To do evil, human being must first of all believe that what he is doing is good, or else that it's a well-considered act in conformity with natural law. Fortunately, it is in the nature of the human being to seek justification for his actions. Ideology. That is what gives evil-doing its long-sought justification, and gives the evildoer the necessary steadfastness and determination. That is the social theory which helps to make his acts seem good instead of bad in his own and others' eyes, so that he won't hear reproaches and curses, but will receive praise and honor. Thanks to ideology, the 20th century was fated to experience evil-doing on a scale calculated in millions. This cannot be denied, nor passed over, nor suppressed. How then do we dare insist that evildoers do not exist? And who was it that destroyed these millions? Without evildoers there would have been no archipelago. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. We, the oppressed people of Russia, the oppressed people of Eastern Europe, watch with anguish the tragic enfeeblement of Europe. We offer you the experience of our suffering. We would like you to accept it without having to pay the monstrous price of death and slavery that we had to pay. To a large extent, this impending crisis is the end result of a pragmatic, materialistic philosophy which rejects God and absolute morality. It also embraces moral relativism and scoffs at the concepts of good and evil, which are considered old-fashioned and laughable. It is a fundamental change in the way that we view the world and ourselves. This philosophy also forms a foundation for Marxism, communism, and socialism, which are all violent and opposed to democracy and liberty. Whereas this crisis was manifested in Russia under the guise of communism, it is now manifesting itself in the West under the guise of socialism. Socialism is believed to be some sort of ultra-modern structure that can serve as an alternative to capitalism, but it does not have a single or precise definition. Socialism is like an emotional impulse that defies logic. Its devotees do not study it or subject it to critical analysis, yet they defend it with a passionate lack of reason. We have placed too much hope in political and social reforms, only to find out that we are being deprived of our most precious possession, our spiritual life. It is destroyed by the dealings and machinations of the ruling party. Freedom has been elevated to a total eclipse of a person's obligations, to a freedom from any obligation. But if I were asked today to formulate as concisely as possible the main cause of the ruinous revolution that swallowed up some 60 million of our people, I could not put it more accurately than to repeat, men have forgotten God. That's why all this has happened. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. What are the lessons then we can learn? Number 1, America's beloved pursuit of happiness is denigrated into self-consumed, self-interested pursuit of materialism, which has serious consequences for the health and stability of the United States, especially since we've grown more litigious and misused the legal system as the only means to solve social and personal problems. Number 2, journalistic standards in the United States are morally bankrupt because it trivializes important events and people, shamelessly invades privacy, refuses to acknowledge errors in judgment, and has built up a comfortable collusion to prevent new views from reaching the marketplace of ideas. Number 3, intellectuals in the West continue to be enamored with the ideas of socialism, even though citizens of such regimes have repudiated its utopian illusion. Number 4, Americans' treasured ideas of freedom are corrupted, especially among the civil and political class, due to the cowardice of intellectuals, because there is no longer belief in the existence of evil, leaving us defenseless against the evil of pornography and crime, and the very real possibility of our civilization's destruction. Number 5, the foundational reason for humankind's woes and the West's current weakness is the Enlightenment philosophy that we are independent from God and accountable only to ourselves, which has left us spiritually depleted and morally anemic. Taken together, these propositions add up to a major crisis for the human race. We must cease from the deception that evil does not exist. The dividing line separates it, and goodness runs through every human heart. We must stir up our courage and resist evil everywhere we find it, even if it means fighting it to the death. Finally, we must acknowledge God's sovereignty over His creation, including us. No one on earth has any way other left but upward. This video is a production of the School of the White Crane. My name is John Brooker. You could communicate with me through commentary on this video or through my Gmail listed here. Please share this video with family and friends and on social media. May God richly bless you.